My name is Dr. Alice Prince. I had the distinct honor and pleasure to pen a chapter in an anthology, my personal reflection on the impact of the legendary RBG and her legacy. The name of the book is called Living My tRuth. My chapter is called Always Last in Line. I hope you enjoy it. Always Last in Line, written by Dr. Alice Prince. Justice Ginsburg was a woman of faith, a Jewish woman who unapologetically spoke up for minorities, the underserved, and disenfranchised communities. She integrated her faith in her work. As it's been said, you could tell her faith by her fruits. As a Jewish woman, Ginsburg believed strongly in justice for all, not just for persecuted Jews, those who looked like her, but also for the forgotten, the underserved, and marginalized. For those who did not look like her, for those who needed it the most, for those persecuted like the Jews for generations. She climbed with all people and lifted them as she rose to heights in the legal and judicial areas. She did not wait to invite them to join her at the crest of her success. One could see her strong, courageous spirit through her daily walk through life. She authentically stood in the gap between acceptable and unacceptable, between discrimination and equality. She did this not for power or fame, not to bolster her career. She did it because it was the right thing to do. RBG rose to the occasion for not just women's rights, but for the rights of all people who had been left behind or left out of the American dream. RBG followed this path. She made sure to help others from all cultures, all pathways in life, those persecuted like the Jewish. This is why people loved her. This is why I loved her. I am not a Jewish woman. I am a proud African American Catholic woman. And like RBG, I believe in the importance of integrating my faith in every facet of my life. I believe in the importance of being a voice for the voiceless. I believe in standing in the gap for communities of color, communities of the marginalized and underserved, communities who have suffered for generations. In this, my chapter, entitled Always Last in Line, the communities I speak for are the communities RBG served throughout her career. The gap I speak of is the pandemic gap, the law enforcement gap, the legal system gap, the education gap, the equity gap, the socioeconomic gap, the minority versus majority gap, the man to woman gap, the always last in line gap. RBG recognized that there are people in our community who are always symbolically and physically last in line. She worked endlessly to improve conditions for those last in line. Now, in the spirit of RBG, I say, honey, we're gonna make it you the whole line. Her spirit for justice for all is the reason she was nicknamed the Notorious RBG after rapper Biggie Smalls, the Notorious B.I.G. Like the Notorious B.I.G., RBG was unapologetic in her beliefs and her actions. Both blazed their own trails. Both lifted and climbed at the same time, bringing their people, not just the ones that looked like them, but all people along with them. For example, growing up as a Jewish woman during the height of anti-Semitic perspectives, RBG spoke out against the wrong, the injustices, loudly and proudly. Although life for the Jewish people was hard, she did not stop speaking up for justice. Speaking out was tough back in her day. I know it is still tough to speak out against injustices today. However, Justice Ginsburg paved the way for women like me to be a beacon of hope and a catalyst to the truth. As an African American woman, I grew up feeling the remnants of systematic racism, environmental racism, institutional racism, and the impact of economic racism. It is hard to undo and overcome the impact of over 400 years of bondage, historical lies, housing redlining, generational poverty, cultural defragmentation, employment discrimination, and food shortages. The 1987 mass shooting, when two men walked into the only major grocery store in the area and claimed the lives of 5 supermarket employees, shut the store down permanently, leaving only convenience stores or liquor stores for the community's shopping convenience. The closing of the supermarket created community food deserts, meaning a shortage of healthy, affordable produce like fresh vegetables, fruits, and meats. The food desert, in turn, deteriorated into a mudslide of assorted illnesses and health disparities, including obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. All melanies for which the African American population is known for, which local quality health care and medical treatment is unavailable within their own communities. My own grandmother moved from Baltimore, Maryland to St. Louis, Missouri to earn her nursing education at Homer G. Phillips Hospital, the only hospital west of the Mississippi to train African American nurses and doctors. Always last in line is the symbolic and physical position of the African American family. Always last in line refers to governmental policies such as moving minorities into low-income housing. Federal housing projects drove African American single mothers into high-rise urban areas to reduce monthly rent. However, the policy stated fathers could not live in the homes or the family would lose the apartment. The 2017 book Behind the Fog by Lisa Martino Taylor documents the U.S. Army's experiment on residents of St. Louis's 11-story Pruitt-Igoe project that subjected them without their knowledge or consent to harmful substances. It is unthinkable that the government put something in the ventilators of the women and children to inhale in the name of their experiments. One thing I admire about RBG, she did not care about being labeled an angry woman. She was angry about the injustices she saw. Unlike RBG, I do not want to be construed or depicted as an angry Black woman. But it is still a reality for African American women who speak up for justice. In spite of that potential perception, I stand in my belief. I stand in the name of justice and equality. I stand in the shadow of RBG. Always last in line is my way to remember from her which my ancestors and past generations rose from the ashes to realize their American dream. I genuinely believe I and other women like me are our ancestors' wildest dreams, because we are standing on the shoulders of great women like Justice Ginsburg. We will not settle. We will not be last in line. We will not allow other women to be last in line. We will speak up and speak out about injustices. We will work to change policies to prevent discriminatory practices such as redlining. We will work to improve. We will work to be innovative through technology. We will run for offices and sit on city councils to restore and populate food deserts and to open avenues to quality health care services. For me, always last in line means we stop thinking only that we deserve a seat at the table. We must believe that we deserve to have more than just a seat at the table. We must start thinking, do I actually want a seat at this table? Maybe I want to build a new table. Maybe I want to design and supply the materials for the table. Or maybe I want to curate the space for the table. We must believe we can take our seats and sit anywhere we want. We will no longer be last in line. Having your feet up on the table doesn't mean you deserve authority. Women will sit, feet on the floor, and be the authority. Justice Ginsburg has a rich history and a long legacy. She had a cult-like following because she believed in the power of empowering others. RBG believed in the importance of lifting and climbing at the same time. Together, not just when she got to the mountaintop would she bring the people up. She'd take them with her on the journey. Like me, she realized the true treasure is found in the journey. In my daily life, I will lift and climb. As I move to new professional and personal heights in life, I will always bring others along with me. I will not settle for being last in line. I will teach others how not to settle. Living through the legacy of Justice Ginsburg, I will always empower the future generation. As the notorious B.I.G. passed the mic to RBG, who passed the mic to the next generation, I pass the mic to you. Thank you.